Okay, today I also got asked a question by a lady doctor. She had a friend who just suffered a pretty significant traumatic injury, and another guy, a friend of mine, just had a traumatic injury yesterday, and they asked me, what can they do to heal? What can you do to speed up healing? Okay, and first thing is everything heals better with good blood flow. So you want to optimize blood flow. So how do you optimize blood flow? Well, first of all, you want to avoid fat. Fat sticks the red blood cells together. Blood floods, rouleau formation, decreases oxygen delivery to tissues. You don't want that. So you want to be eating low fat. Best starches. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, white rice, they all have 1% of the calories from fat. That's low fat. Beans, lentils are 3% of calories from fat. Black beans, about 4% of calories from fat. So those are better choices than garbanzo beans. It's about 13% of fat. The worst is soybeans, 40% fat. Okay, I would not eat those. What else? Plants have the vasodilators. They got potassium and magnesium, which are vasodilators. Open up arteries to get more blood flow to the tissues. Also, the greens. I would eat more greens. They got a lot of nitrates or nitric oxide precursors. Chew them well to get more blood supply to systemic vasodilation, get more blood supply to your tissues. Ruth Heidrich's real famous, triathlete, multiple decade survivor of metastatic breast cancer. She got hit by a car when she was riding her bike, training for a triathlon, had a comminuted fracture. I think it was of her tibia. And they told her she'd never run again, have difficulty ever being able to walk again. And she was up running again in just a couple months. She says she eats lots of greens and she thinks that optimized blood flow to her bone, and she healed from her fracture remarkably quickly. And she was old too. She was like around 70 or something at that time. Avoid processed food. Processed food has a lot of mold inhibitors, which are often mitochondria inhibitors. You'll also call them fungal inhibitors. And because they're preservatives. The processed food company doesn't want their food returned to them with mold grown in it. So they put all these preservatives in there, and they're also toxic to humans, okay? Processed food has lots of sodium in it. Sodium is a vasoconstrictor, clamps down your arteries, less blood supply to the tissue. A lot of estrogenic chemicals in processed food, a lot of estrogenic chemicals in the meats. I would avoid, there's estrogenic chemicals in soy. Estrogen kind of confuses the immune system, okay? Women get 80% of autoimmune diseases, so I wouldn't want to do anything to sort of mess around with that estrogenic component of my immune system. I would try to minimize my exposure to that. I always do anyways. No alcohol, tobacco, no MJ. People who use MJ are stupid. They think they're clever, they're stupid, or MJ oil. You're a bunch of idiots. It's neurotoxic, okay? So don't even waste my time. Whenever I hear somebody trying to praise MJ, I know I'm talking to a loser. I try to get away from there as fast as I can. I offer them a few things to read, and I try to get away from it. Okay, sun. Good to get sunshine. Vitamin D improves immune system function. And then you have a bunch of subcutaneous precursors of nitric oxide, and they get released. That's why you feel good when you walk out in the sun. It's a systemic means total body, vasodilator effect. It's pleasant. You get more blood supply to the wound. Usually I prefer to eat a pretty low protein diet. About 10% of my calories or less from protein. But when you have a big wound, it depends on the size of the wound, but if you have a bigger size wound, then you'll need a little more protein to help heal that wound. You're going to have to rebuild a lot of that tissue. If you're able to walking is usually good to get the lymphatic flow moving in your body, get your body moving. Stasis usually is not good for the human body. Sometimes you need a little bit after a big injury, but in general, it's usually good to walk if you can. Like I said, you get the lymphatic flow. And the lymphatics are not connected to the heart. They move by your muscle contraction. Your arteries and veins are connected to the heart as a pump. But your lymphatics, their pump is that you move your muscles, okay? And a lot of people with dramatic survival, dramatic healing are pretty good at moving quickly. Ruth Hardridge was funny, too. When she was in the hospital after her injury, she had one of those trapeze bars in there, like a gymnastic bar, a pull-up bar put over her bed. So she was working out real fast after her injury, and they were rather amazed. 7-year-old lady, working out, doing chin-ups. Okay, let's see what else. If when you walk, it's nice to walk somewhere pleasant. If you have that option, walking in a pleasant spot. Nature is pleasing to us. If you're a billionaire, billionaires always make a big house on a hill, looking over a lake by some woods. All right. Nature is real pleasant. I used to love going bird watching when I was in California. I was out at Stanford. It was a real pleasant thing. I used to go to the Palo Alto Baylands, the marshlands, and then we used to also go into Jasper Ridge, the woods and stuff. I was some friends that were into bird watching and stuff, and I loved it. It was a really enjoyable thing to do. So if you got an area where that's available, that can be pleasant. You can go to the zoo. You know, and you can even bring binoculars to the zoo. Some places got aviaries with all these birds up there. So that's, it depends. It depends on your situation, but that was something I enjoyed. Staying warm. When you're warm, your immune system functions better. It just does. Your immune systems move around faster. They make all their contacts faster because they have to read each other by braille. So that is helpful. Position the area optimally. Make sure there's no counterproductive tension on the wound. Some things benefit from elevation to facilitate lymphatic drainage, keeping them above the heart. They're going to drain everything relative to the heart. The blood flow, the lymphatics drain back into the venous system. They dump in by the junction of the jugular vein and the subclavian vein. So right there at the bottom of your neck, about where your clavicles are, is where the lymphatics re-enter the venous system. So having things elevated a little bit facilitates that drainage. Avoid unnecessary stress, physical stress, psychological stress. When I say, I mostly mean psychological stress. It shuts off the immune system. You got limited resources in your body, and when you're trying to run from a saber-toothed tiger, or you just want to survive the next 30 minutes, you can't be wasting resources on things like the immune system or growth. They don't really matter at that time. So you don't want to be psychologically stressed out and keep that cortisol, which is the main stress hormone, ramped up for a prolonged amount of time, keeping your immune system shut off, because it also shuts off your healing capacity. It remarkably decreases it. So avoid anything that stresses you out. People who are negative topics on TV or on the internet, just avoid all that stuff. Avoid caffeine because it elevates the same hormones, cortisol and catecholamines, of the acute stress response, and it can cause insomnia. You heal well during sleep, so you want to sleep, and a lack of sleep is also perceived as psychological stress. Elevates the same hormones, cortisol and catecholamines. Best thing usually for getting sleep is go to bed earlier, keep your room dark, have the temperature good, don't drink a bunch of liquid right before you go to bed so you ain't got to wake and void too much. I made a whole separate video about how to sleep well. Seek positive people. They put you in a good mood. They're reassuring, they're pleasant, they lower your stress level. Positive music. I love Christian music. It's great. Music with a melody. Positive conversations. People who are enjoyable to talk to and sort of upbeat. Religion helps a lot of people handle stress and other problems in life. Religious people are just a lot healthier. The modern world tries to deny religion, but remember what the goal is of big money in the modern world. It's not positive, okay? Religion's a positive, good thing. It's a reminder of all kinds of good things. Do something positive, whatever. When you help other people, you feel better yourself. You get release of reward neurotransmitters in your brain. You feel happy. It's just a win-win. Study the thing you've been putting off because you've been too busy. Now study that thing that you think ennobles you and helps you to grow intellectually. So anyways, those are things you can do to improve healing. Hope that's helpful.